Welcome to Beauty Business Matters. I'm your host, Susan Routledge, and this is our second episode with Alex Belisle-Springer from Phorest. Alex is originally from over in Montreal, so the fact that Alex is in the UK, knew I had to get him on board on the podcast. If you haven't listened to the first episode, go back. It's a brilliant episode. But this one is, we want to go a lot deeper, I think, on care and connection and the importance of, just in this world of like AI, that, bringing back the human connection and community and everything. So welcome back, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
So we are both fresh from the 2026 Phorest Summit.
Yes.
Which has been, as I say, what we are talking about, the human connection part, AI coming together, some of the new features that Phorest software are bringing in, but as well, your talk that you did, your keynote that you did in 2024, I would have thought that that would have fitted in perfect. Not that I would, because it was such an impactful keynote that I don't think it could ever be repeated. Let's say that.
Definitely not in the same way. That's for sure. I do have hopes to, and I'm working on that this year more specifically, maybe more in the background, not so much within my day-to-day role at Phorest, but I do think it's I'm only starting to realize just how impactful it's been.
Yes.
And people still come up to me when I'm coming back to the summit and say hey, that changed, the way I interact with my kids or with my clients or this or that. I still get a lot of feedback from it. So I feel like I need to, in some ways, bring it to the world. Obviously it has to change format a little bit because I was also bridging the gap and announcing my new name and all that. So I can't redo that.
I've been to every Phorest Summit and I think bar one. Well, no, actually I've missed another couple recently, but just with it being near my event. But the thing is that, there's always things that stick in your mind. And that keynote that you did, I'll never have forgotten it. I still get goosebumps thinking about it because it was just so beautifully put together, so heartfelt. And as a keynote, it was from a beginning to another aspect of a journey kind of thing. And it was just, is it recorded? Can anyone go and listen to it?
It's not available anymore.
Is it not? No. Right, well, well, in that case then, because you'll have to tell us a little bit about that. I mean, did that take a lot of prep for you to, because it's such a personal, to stand in front of that many people and talk in that way? As I say, were you nervous or?
Super nervous. Super nervous. I mean, I pitched the idea to the events team in Phorest, very, very early in the year because, yourself, putting together an event takes a long time. There's a lot of behind the scenes work. And when they said, let's do it, I started, thinking about it more seriously. It was obviously very much tied to my personal journey as well. Because what was happening at the time was I had just started medically transitioning. And for me, the salon the salon, spa, clinic, industry in general at large has been a really amazing source of affirming parts of my identity. And also in other circumstances, especially when I started medically transitioning and I was in some in-betweens. I felt very uncomfortable in some spaces. And it's not by I don't think it's ever been like an intentional thing, but just the way that businesses have been structured and, you know, what the norm, quote unquote, is. And you don't necessarily think about policies or things or how, you know, structurally things are put together. Then it like, I felt the effects of like also feeling othered, you know, and not fitting in and like not being able to, I think I shared like when I was on stage, I shared like I didn't feel comfortable going into spas.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, it felt weird to have to explain what my situation is, explain like how I looked a certain way, but my ID card showed a different reality, and then going into changing rooms and how that was, you know, and it's just like, so, but I think what it came down to for me, you asked about the nerves. I was like thinking about the podcast as well. We mentioned it on episode 1. You know, my voice has changed, medically transitioning, taking hormones. It's masculinized my voice, gotten it deeper. You know, it was like, okay, people who have been listening to the podcast for the past like 4 or 5, however many years it was at that point, I was like, they're going to notice my voice changing. How do I communicate what's happening in my life? I also had a moment that maybe people didn't necessarily realize. I think I did address it a little after, but not like in a very like in-depth way, but I reran quite a few episodes in like the start of a year, and it's because I got top surgery. And so I was out, you know, of commission for a little while, recovering and stuff. And so I was like, how do I feel like there's a key kind of like story sharing moment in this. And I wanted to help the industry see how important of a place it had been for me, and also how there's so much more that we can do to help people feel like they belong when they walk into those spaces.
And that's where I think it was just beautiful, because yes, you needed to inform everyone of what was, you know, your transition, but there was also, everyone learned so much. And I think, you know, we just need to throw away the box that people get put into. And like at the end of the day, everyone's a person, you know. And the thing is, I think you just like it, as I say, it was so beautifully done. But it was not only that you were taking someone on your journey, there were also all the time, you could have just heard a pin drop. you know, the thing is that it was, as I say, I don't think I've ever listened to anything and watched anything so well presented. You know, like,
thank you.
Yes, you know, Phorest have great speakers, and also, you know, like I go to a lot of business events where there's like top key people there. But I would say that presentation and how you did that was the best I've ever heard.
It really means a lot. Thank you. But you know, I think it really comes down to that human connection piece.
Yeah.
That's where I feel, and that's where I come back to again and again. It's like there's so much power in sharing stories.
Yeah, totally.
And understanding each other's journeys and learning from one another and our experiences. And I think that's really what I wanted to tap into with the keynote.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it resonated so much, because I remember people coming up to me after, and the shares that I would get from people of what they resonated with, you know, no one necessarily had the same exact story, right? The same way that we were talking about that in the first episode. But like at the same time, they were relating to some experiences that they had and how they had felt. It was like, oh yeah, I went through this thing and I also felt like I didn't fit or I didn't belong or I did. And so that's the piece that like when you're able to like tie it back to the human connection piece and the common experience that we all have as human beings.
Yeah.
I think it's going to resonate at large. And I think I didn't realize necessarily, I think that was the hope, but I didn't necessarily realize just how impactful it would be and just how much of a ripple effect it would have. So yeah, I mean, obviously I can't do the same exact thing like going forward, because like I was saying, and like you mentioned, like at the end, I introduced my new name, the name that I'd chosen, Alex, and there's a lot of things that I can't. There's no second doing that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to the learnings that were shared throughout. I think those can easily be recommunicated.
This episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsor, Phorest Salon Software. I'm especially delighted about this partnership because I've known the CEO of Phorest, Ronan Percival, for over 12 years, and he was also the first guest on this podcast. The Phorest story began with a genuine love for the salon industry, and their passion for helping businesses thrive is what makes them such a great synergy and such a great fit for this show. They bring so much energy and enthusiasm to helping and supporting salons. And as part of this partnership, they are offering an exclusive deal for our listeners. It's a huge 50% off Phorest Salon software for the first 6 months. It's an incredible saving, especially in today's climate, and a great way for your business to stay focused and strong for 2025 and beyond. If you'd like to take advantage of the offer, simply check out the sign-up link in the show notes, and be sure to mention the podcast when you speak to their fantastic team. And thanks to Phorest Software, and now back to our incredible episode.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was, it was impactful because it was such a big thing. But as in, it just felt like we were all part of it with you. And
you were.
But the as I say, the learning from it. As I say, I think you've makes this quite emotional. I think you've made like some huge strides in people's perception and thinking in a different way, which, I mean, now I know this spoken about a lot more, but back then I think there wasn't any education really on sort of, and I think as well with someone who's trans, it's like people, what they do is don't say anything in case they say the wrong thing. Yeah. And it's like, and that makes it worse. And it's just like, the more, as I say, I think now we are moving into hopefully better times. And salons, I think, are starting to get better prepared, kind of thing. Not prepared, but, like, there's, as I say, I would like to think that, I've, for years and years with all the work that I did with electrolysis, I used to go and speak in hospitals in trans to trans people, and the thing is that so in essence my team were always very much involved, but and most salons weren't. So
I didn't know that. That's cool to know.
And and that's gone back from, that was started maybe 20 odd years ago, so I've always known how excluded people can feel and made that, but again though, it happens in all cultures and everything, isn't it?
It can happen to everyone.
Yeah.
I think like when we talk about human connection, when we talk about belonging, I've been taking it's something that I've been like, ever since that keynote, actually, I've been like seeking out more courses and education around like how do we shape experiences that are centered in care, that are centered in belonging, and making people feel like they belong. And what I've come to really believe, and this has been shared in some of the courses I've taken, but I really truly believe it has to be intentional. It has to be designed.
Yeah.
And it has to, you can't just hope for the best it happens. You have to be super intentional about what you're creating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
But I mean, something that made me, and I try to be very, very aware of including everyone and planning everything. And I can always remember an event that I did a few years ago, and we did something in group work and things, and it was, and I hadn't realised that I hadn't counted my numbers in the room right, and there was going to be one person excluded.
Mm.
And even that had like such a profound effect, because that brought back to that person that they were excluded as a child and things. And so it can be, it
My
can
God,
be
shivers just there.
yeah, you know, and I've never forgotten that. But like, it was like so unintentional.
Yeah.
Because, I thought I was doing a great job, and then like it was just like, oh my word, no, I've just excluded someone.
Yeah.
So, it's like, whether it's with teams or clients or whatever, it's just, nobody's perfect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, I would, I learned so much from that, and now I would never, ever, I would be double down on making sure that I could never, ever make anyone feel like that again, kind of thing. And it was just so unintentional.
Of course.
So I know, obviously, at the Phorest Summit as well, we were talking about a lot about AI.
Yeah.
But Phorest are using it in such a great way where it's going to be where someone has all those thoughts that they can't automatically think about a client who's coming in, drawn together, so that when someone comes in, you automatically know, depending on the what information you keep on file, but like, what recommendations you've had, what someone's purchased, what their likes, what their dislikes are, and things. And although, I try and make it so that our team prep for clients coming in on a busy day, you can't. Yeah. But being able to just have that all brought together,
it makes such a huge difference, for sure. I mean, I've had like a lot of people at the summit this year like be really excited. I've heard a lot of excitement for that kind of like development to come to them in their software. But like it's super cool for me to look at from someone who's not in the development, of the product, and who is super invested in like the cultures of care and belonging and designing those processes and experiences, because I feel like, part of designing an experience where someone can belong and feel like they belong, we all carry like different histories. You were mentioning like it brought them, that person brought them back to like a childhood experience. In one of the courses that I was taking, just actually like I'm wrapping it up now. We were invited to think about our lineages of belonging, and to think about like where in all of our life, like what were the moments where we felt we belonged, and then interestingly enough, often a lot of people will also feel like that's a hard question to answer, and the easier question to answer is where and when did I feel excluded?
Yeah,
because that sticks with you more, right? But I think that what's really amazing with the way that Phorest is going about the AI features that are being built is that it's to empower the human connection. It's to give back time to design those moments, those little like key moments of like, hey, I remember you. You don't have to re-explain who you are, or remind me of all these different things about you. You have the technology that's aiding the experience, essentially aiding you in creating an experience where a client can feel like they belong in the salon or the spa or the clinic.
Yeah, but it's all the little touches that cost nothing that make you feel, for my team, I even get them writing down like sort of like preferences of tea and coffee and different things like that, because, for Jane coming in, and then someone like saying, oh, it's a tea, two sugars. It's like, oh my God, you know, like I'm the only person that, you know, but for someone to come in and, you know, it'll be like, what name is it?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, like, what would you like to drink? You know, totally different experience, especially if that client's been coming in for like 3 months, 4 months or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And it's just the little things. So, you know, I have, which now we can like change, but like with the Phorest thing, but I have people like clients writing, the team writing down, you know, like where someone's going on holiday, that kind of thing. Because it's like when like someone, again, Jane comes in, it's like, oh, did you have a great time in Crete?
Yeah.
Not like, you going on holiday this year? You know, oh, no.
Yeah. I've literally had that experience at my dentist's back in Montreal where the hygienist was asking me like, hey, so like how was your time in Gaspésie? And I was like, wait, that's a year ago.
Yeah.
Like you remembered that. Amazing. Like that, it meant so much to me. And I was like, wow, I'm never moving dentists.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
But it's cool because I feel like the type of features that are being built like around AI in Phorest, you know, there's, when I think of like teams who are going through turbulent kind of moments where, I don't know, maybe there's like a high turnover moment in the long story of like the salon, the spa, the clinic, right? Because it happens. But when those turbulent moments happen, inevitably the clients are also going to feel it, right? Like if the staff turnover is higher, maybe clients are going to have to like reintroduce themselves on a more regular basis, like, you know, remind people. So these features are essentially like, to me, that's like one way that it reduces that friction, even though in the period of, you know, that transition really, things feel maybe like, oh, it's hard, but you can still provide that amazing experience to the client.
Yeah, because the thing is as well, because, you know, like we've been saying, it's human connection. So, and you get used to being with one person. You build that trust up with one person.
It takes time to build trust.
Yeah, and then if there's someone new and you've got to build that up again, if you can already have like some touch points that are already, so that person's not feeling like they've walked into a totally new business again, kind of thing. Totally. I love this. I can't wait for this feature to come out. I know it's not out yet, but fully out yet. But and as well, I'm sure that it's going to evolve.
Sure. Yeah.
I was like saying to you earlier on, because before this, obviously, and I've been manually. I always get everyone to manually write down everything.
Yeah.
So we managed to find what I thought was a genius tool, where it was a tool where you talk into and then it transcribes whatever's been said. And then we've been like cutting and pasting that into Phorest so that we're not missing anything. And the thing is, because obviously we're all Geordie, we've also got someone working with us who's got like a slight foreign accent to what like a clear British accent would sound like, which obviously this device is good on. So Geordie's on one side, we've got a broken English accent on the other side. So it started like translating everything into German. So it's like, oh, I don't know who this is. So it started off great. So I need these Phorest features coming out quick, because otherwise we're going to have to learn German.
Well, we have some folks on the team who I'm sure can help you. If it comes to it.
But just going back to, you know, the thing is, was there any businesses or anywhere that you went where you felt, they did do it right and made you feel totally accepted and everything when you were going through your transition? Or not many?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think because I'm someone who also likes not necessarily like routine. Like I can be flexible. I obviously moved my entire life to Dublin, you know. But like, there's a part of me that likes, you know, knowing what I'm getting into, what to expect, the kind of experience I can expect, and all that. And I get quite nervous in new situations. I tend to be a very, very loyal client.
Yeah.
So in that regards, when I think about like my hair, I was going to one specific barber shop that I knew that I was going to feel fine because I'd been with them for a long time. I had built that trust over years that when I started transitioning, I was open and talked to them about it. And, you know, I got my first, actually in the summit, like keynote in that video, I actually shared like when I got my first barber shave, which I look back at now and I'm like, I had so little facial hair, but you know what? It was such a special experience nonetheless. But you know, it was super affirming because I was like, this is a thing that like it's new. I don't know how to do it. No one's taught me. Like I'm like 32 and like I'm going through this now and like. So anyway, so it was that's one place where I felt really, really good because I had been able to build that trust with more than just, you know, my barber specifically, who also happens to be the owner, but I had built trust with other of the barbers in the shop where I could, you know, I felt comfortable going to anyone really, and they knew me. I felt that, you know, they saw me for who I am, and but you know, there's places where I didn't feel as comfortable because I didn't have any touch points that were constant with folks who were working there. I think also like anything that had like anything to do with like very specific gender binary norms was like challenging. So spas was really challenging. It's not as challenging now, though you know, there's still some little moments where I'm like, oh, this feels, I don't know how comfortable I am. But you know, at the time, especially like in the first like 1-2 years of my transition, going to spas felt really, really awful, honestly.
Yeah. Do you think that things are getting better with time, or do you think it's pretty much at a standstill and it's still good businesses doing things well, and you know, just in general with everything and
I mean, it's hard to say because like I think it's a very like case by case basis. Some businesses are going, you know, above and beyond, and I think that's super beautiful. And some businesses also have like other major urgent, you know, like when I think of like teams are going through like major turbulence, turnover, like sometimes you have to focus on like what you have to do to survive, and I totally understand that. So like I don't know, like I think in general, I think that the hair and beauty industry as a whole, for me, has always felt a very like good place to be in, no matter what, no matter when, you know, at what part of my life, just because we're in a business of transformation to begin with, right? Like we're helping people feel good, look great. We're asking questions, we're curious. And I think that's the root of like, you know, building those connections and
I know. I mean, I did an interview a while ago, which again will be a great one to go back and watch, with Amy Bates, who's got Beauty Rebellion. And that was very much around body consciousness of, you know, like in spas again come under like, you know, the criticism about the size of robes and things like that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I've had it before, you know, where I've gone and, you know, at some points I've been a lot heavier than I am now. And you go and you've got a robe that like just barely touches kind of thing, you know, and it's so again, you know, like I know a lot of people who are slightly larger who won't go to spas just in case that happens, where they're given a robe which is the wrong size, or they have a robe that's one size fits all, which just doesn't, and it's the same with someone who's quite slight as well, if they're just given this humongous thing to put on. So there's all different aspects, isn't it, of like you just got to really, really drill down into all of the different things that can make someone feel comfortable and uncomfortable. So the course that you've been doing, what is that then, Alex?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I just wanted to like bring it back just before I get into that, because I think you mentioned something, that's super interesting, and you mentioned earlier like nobody's perfect, and I think that's super important to like reinstate and name. No one's perfect. Like we all have room to, like, we just took both of us like an example of the spas, and I'm not knocking spas. Like,
no,
in no way. Because I think like no matter where you're at, whether you're a person, an organization, a business, like I think we all have like infinite room to grow.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of taking the time to like slow down, to think about, okay, what is the client journey right now? And like where do we have gaps? Like taking the time to breathe and just like, okay, let's go it bit by bit, getting people who are experiencing the client journey, the experience, to give feedback, to share how they're feeling, to invite them into the conversation, to be like, how would you like to be greeted, or how, like, what would make your experience like amazing before you even stepped into the salon? Because I think it begins there. It begins before you even step into the salon or the spa or the clinic, like whatever the business you're walking into. So I think like, we all have room to grow. No one's perfect. And it's a continuous commitment, actually.
Yeah. But it is, I mean, I think we all forget with our businesses, when someone's standing outside, coming in is that first big step. We know it's like lovely, friendly, everyone. Someone who's never been in a salon before, or, is that timid kind of person that like, they don't know whether someone's going to jump on them, sell to them, or exactly what's going to happen. So, on our website, we have like a client walking in, and it shows them coming into the reception, and
I love that so much.
And sitting down and getting spoken to and things. And it's just it's just a 1 minute video, but it shows someone from like actually standing outside. And what I want to do is actually, and I keep saying this, and I haven't got around to it yet in about the 6 months I've been talking about. What I want to do is, because we've got media screen in the window, I want to have it where that's actually playing, so someone can see from outside what happens when they actually walk through that door.
Oh my God, amazing.
Because
that would be cool.
It is, that door is a big barrier to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that I think that is why, things like video on social media and things, and showing, yes, that your suppliers do great videos of like products and things. That's still not the same as a team member talking and someone seeing part of a treatment or something. I think these videos are so important, just so that someone can feel that connection before they actually come in.
Yeah. Even in consultation forums, honestly, like, is there any needs, anything that like we haven't, because, I feel like consultation forums, especially I think about the ones that we can have in Phorest, like you can build them, right? So like you can kind of customize them and stuff. But so there's room to ask more questions about like the actual experience, and like, is there anything that you might need that we might not be aware of? And, just the matter of taking the time to ask.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, though, because clients love to feel part of something. They love to feel like we're always surveying and asking questions about clients. And, the thing is, because a lot of time Otherwise, it's guesswork. You're guessing what a client wants, you know. Instead, ask them.
Yeah, they're in the best position to say. Yeah,
and they love to, you know, especially when something that they have said, and goes back to Phorest as well. You know, when someone wants something in Phorest, make those changes. You know, it's the same in your business that, you know, when a client has said that they've given you an idea, and then you bring that in, and it's like, oh yeah, like it's because I said about that, you know, kind of thing. And clients just love to, as I say, to be able to feel part of something rather than just being a person walking in.
Yeah,
you know, it's
makes a world of difference.
And it doesn't take that much. You know, and it's a good few years ago that I wrote the little book of client retention. And that was just like 50 little things that you can do just to make someone feel a little bit more special and a little bit more part of something. And it's just an accumulation of those little things.
Yes.
And listening and learning.
Yeah.
Like we've said, you know, and yes, you'll always get things wrong, because nobody's going to be perfect. But as well, I think you've just got to be ever evolving as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I think that's why, and I see that's where AI can help.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to replace anyone, but like it can remember the things that we might forget.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That make that huge difference to someone.
Exactly.
So,
But yeah, to answer your question, like the course that I'm taking, I mean, it's an 8-week course on. It's called Where We Belong.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a 8-week facilitation and space holding course around belonging. So each week of those 8 weeks, or almost each of them, because there's week 7 and 8 is like project week, and then 8 is the closing. As we're recording this, like this week is the closing week for me. Yeah, I presented my project last week, just before the summit actually, and it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful experience. But yeah, so like we looked at, oh my goodness, the reminder for the medication. We looked at like what is designing for belonging? What does that look like? How does that feel like? What were my experiences, like what I was talking about, like my lineages of belonging? Where do I feel, what's my earliest memories of like, you know, being in a space where I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
And where did I maybe like feel in spaces like, ooh, I don't fit in here at all, and why? And just like reflecting on like, why has that been the case? Then we also talked about, you know, how everyone comes in a room with different histories, backgrounds, baggage, triggers. Like there's so much that we don't know when someone walks into a room about them, and they might not always feel comfortable to share. Like, so understanding that and like taking that into consideration, and that comes kind of back to like the idea with the consultation. Like, is there anything we might need to know to help make your experience feel, you know, a lot better, essentially. You can think about like accommodations or accessibility, all that kind of stuff, right? But then we also talked about like, there's a module that I actually remember the title because it was so impactful to me, but the poetics of facilitation, like the importance of using like what language you use and your intentionality in that, the designing of the spaces, even just like the way that we design, like in like interior design, or like place, like if we're doing an event, like how is everyone sitting, like what is the seating arrangement like, how does that like create a space where people feel like they can share, open up, you know, and like it's very extensive, and it's been honestly absolutely a beautiful experience. I've been learning so much. It's, you know, again, it comes back to like that growth mindset value in Phorest, but I do feel like it's something that I've always been so you know, on it. Like I've always cared so much about just growing as a person, being more curious about like who I am becoming. I think like that's the thing, like I'm ever evolving, I'm ever becoming, I'm always forever writing that story for myself, and just like wanting to see what's next and what I can do more and how I can serve better and how I can hold space in rooms, especially in the context of like a podcast, for example. Like we're holding space for our guests all the time. So like, how do I make those experiences better?
But when you're talking about events, it makes a huge difference. I don't know whether you've heard of Danny Wallace. She has an event called the Big Festoon, and I've been to that a few times, and that is like they've just thought about everything there, you know, and it's fantastic to see that, you know, like it's just so well thought out. Whereas you go, you know, quite often you go to events where it's not designed for anyone with any kind of disabilities or anything, you know, you know, and again, those things don't necessarily cost. It's just being mindful and thinking about them. So this program that you're doing, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Is that going to be something that you're helping Phorest to bring some kind of education toward to everyone else, to salon owners? Because it'd be a shame for you to like keep that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways that you know, like I decided to take myself onto that course. Like it's not even something that Phorest was like, oh yes, like please do this. It was just like, I want to do this and you know, anyone interested, like these are actually people that I know in Montreal that I have come to, I've taken a course with them before and they became friends. So like I'm super excited also to see how that grows as a program, because it was the first cohort. So my friends over at New Room. But yeah, like what I'm hoping to do, I mean, I have a few projects of, well, including the keynote, right? Like how do I bring that education out into the industry in a different way than how I did it in 2024, because I can't repeat that. So like I've been thinking about, okay, how do I bring this into it? I think naturally when we think about Phorest, like I think naturally Phorest is a space that is very conscious of designing like spaces like that. When I think about the summit, like all the, or even just like designing features, like there's so much like, you know, pre-event care feedback, like, okay, what do we need? And this, and the, you know, the summit ends and there's a feedback form that goes out, and we really take on the feedback. Like we really care and we really want to know what we can do better and make the experience better. And, you know, we're aware of like the design, like the space design of like, you know, the event, and we take that feedback on. You know, some years it's like, oh, well, we felt a little like it was too small of a space for like lunch, for example. It's like, okay, we'll think about a way to make that, you know, happen in a better way next year, kind of thing. So I mean, for sure, I would love to bring in some of that education and you know, knowledge into how the industry can, you know, in a way that it serves the industry as well, for sure. Do I know exactly what that's going to look like yet? Not quite. I'm literally only just wrapping up the 8 weeks now. So I think, but there's like, you know, there's so much, there's so much that can, there's a huge scope in it. Right. So, but I think one of the places where I can test a lot of things and actually like make really quick, rapid changes is literally with the Phorest FM podcast, and like rethinking about even just like the guest journey and coming onto the show and what happens after and this and that. So, but yeah, even just like, you know, I think even just in conversations, because like, you know,
it just makes it, it's these, like, I'm sure what you're learning in it, it's possibly things that you're like thinking, just didn't think about that. Didn't think about that. And as I say, it's just more awareness, isn't it? More awareness all the time. More awareness of like of that client experience, experience of just in general in life like
Yeah.
how we're all communicating.
Well, I'll give you an example of like, oh, I didn't even think about that. We were asked to reflect on, when in the module specifically around like spatial like design.
Yeah.
To think about a moment, like, visualize like one of the experiences where you felt like, this way, or like a recent experience, and what was the spatial design like, and what did it like create, and what did it like not allow you to do. And I was thinking about this one time where I went for dinner at a newer friend's house, and we were three of us, and she had invited me and this other person over. We had never been to her house before, and we were having to sit down dinner. She'd cook for us, like the most beautiful welcome, like just so warm, so like caring, so excited. Like we hadn't seen each other in months, so like it was so fun. And then when we sat down, it was super interesting to me to like even think about, because it's not even just in the context of like work or businesses, right? It can happen even in the comfort of our own homes. But the way that the seating arrangement at the table when we were eating, it was like a long, like rectangular table.
Yeah.
And she sat on one side, and then me and the other person were sitting like in front of her. But like me and her were in front, and then the other person was like kind of at an angle. And because we were in her home, I felt like all of a sudden we were kind of like, not like interrogated in a bad way. I don't mean it like with that connotation, but like I felt like almost like being interviewed,
Yeah.
Whereas like I was like, oh, super interesting. How would the experience have been different if she had sat on the edge of the smaller end of the rectangle, and then I had been on where she was sitting and he had been where I was sitting, so that we're actually like all kind of more in a conversational like this. It was so interesting to me.
That just makes me go back to one of the episodes I did with Arif. And actually, the short that the guys did hear from that was Arif like saying, like, come closer, do I smell? Like we were talking, and it got like millions of views. But the thing was that what we were talking about was like, when someone's doing a consultation, quite often like it's too far away. It becomes so impersonal. It's as if like, right, I've just got to get through this, rather than it being a conversation. If you were having a conversation, you would be closer, and even just pulling chairs a little bit closer, or looking at like how you are doing things. You've just like said exactly the same. And I've done that because obviously I do a lot of judging. And when you go, quite often, it's as if you like sat in an interview chair and someone's got like a clipboard and a pen, and they're like, and it's as if like, like, right, just got to answer the right questions here, kind of thing. Rather than it being like someone genuinely interested in like what in you as a person.
Yeah.
So in that, again, just going back to it's like it doesn't cost anything. It's just thinking about what makes someone feel comfortable and uncomfortable. And I think, consultations are the biggest thing. You can't do a treatment without a great consultation. And even just that, where someone's not feeling comfortable telling you about themselves, because you just haven't thought about how you've positioned yourself in that room with them. So I think there's so much you can learn.
And sometimes also it's just like purely about slowing down.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that can come through if we don't rush things as much.
Yeah.
And sometimes that little pause will allow someone to, okay, maybe I'll open up about this, But like sometimes if we're like rushing through all the things and it's just like go, tick that, okay, done. It's like, okay, well, I'm just like, just gonna follow along because I don't really have the space to.
Yeah, but again, it's going back to it. It's treating someone. We're all human beings. We've all got different needs, and it's finding that common ground as well, because it's in a salon anyway. It's that human connection.
Yeah.
You no matter what whether you're just in a shop buying something, you're bonding with people and connecting with people. Yeah, it's a fascinating topic, though, isn't it?
It
because
is,
it's, and I think we've just touched on about this much of it, but I can't wait to see what you do with like all the extra that you learn as well. Because I think
I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm excited for 2026, honestly. There's a lot of really fun stuff happening at Phorest, a lot of really cool features being worked on. And my personal life, obviously with that course, I'm like, well, the sky's the limit. There's so many things I can like go, to with that. But I mean, I'm just like, I'm decided like this year, I was like, you know what? I want to think about what I can do to help serve and just like be open to whatever feels right and just go with it. So I mean, I'm definitely going to share when that happens and what comes out of it. But for now, I'm just kind of like soaking it up and trying to, get to a point where I feel like I've embodied also a lot of the, like integrated a lot of the knowledge. Cause you go through courses, and I think that's the same for any kind of like development course or education in the industry. Like even when the summit happens, people go back to the salons, their businesses, and they're just like, oh my God, I've learned so much. And how do you like, you need time to process.
Yeah. But it's like when you read a book, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you go back and read that book again. It's like sometimes like you're reading a new book. You're
Exactly.
Like, hang on. Because you need different things at different times as well. So the thing is that like, what you've learned now, like in essence, you could go back and do that whole program again and you'd still be learning more and things, which again is the great thing about just our whole lives, isn't it? It's just fascinating. I love it.
Yeah. Super exciting stuff. But I think it's a conversation that needs to happen. Like, my invitation for anyone listening really is just to slow down. Especially this is a good time of year to just like reassess. Like it's the start of the year. It doesn't have to be like a new year, new me kind of thing, but just like take a second to pause, to breathe, to like look at your client journey, to invite maybe some of your like top, spending clients to share about their experience. I think like, when we think about like mystery shoppers, I think it's there's an element of that, of just like assessing what the journey is and where the gaps are. But I think you can do that with your clients. They'll give you the best feedback you'll ever get.
Exactly.
So
and it's and acting on it, because a lot of times someone just get the feedback and then they don't act on it. So definitely act on it. This has been absolutely fascinating, Alex.
Thank you so much.
I don't want you to go back. I just want to do another episode now.
I'll let you know whenever I'm back in Europe, and UK, Ireland.
Because I can't wait to see where you take this. And as I say, I think there's just been so many lessons. And again, like you said, I think someone listening to this, going back and listening to it again, they'll pick other bits and pieces and like new things out of it as well. Absolutely brilliant. Well done for all you do. And, like I say, I just love that Phorest's ever evolving always, but, you within that like operation, community. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Can't wait to see what happens for the rest of the year.
I know,
and
same.
beyond.
And I'm excited for everyone to discover all the features that we're bringing to the community this year in the industry. It's going to be really, really powerful. So
yeah, and as I say, that's why I've always loved being associated with Phorest, because they just ever evolving. They say this is. I feel like it's like. This much of like something that's going to be a lot bigger. And I always like say this to everyone, I always like say with Phorest, I always feel like we use maybe it's about a 10% of like what's there, because it's always there's always so much more and going on with the company.
Yeah, for sure. But anyone who is like also a Phorest, like who uses Phorest in their business, like if you, I think a lot of people know now, but if you didn't know, like everyone has a salon success manager. Like you have a touch point in Phorest that you can ask for help and ask for like, how do I maximize, like
Yeah.
if you have, I don't know, you're working on retail this year and like, how do I, make the most out of this? Like you can reach out, like we're there to help. We want to help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, everyone's always so helpful and and as I say, I just love everyone's enthusiasm and that's just a common thing of everyone wanting to lift everyone else up, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
We only got each other, so we got to work together.
I love it. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.